Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Minecraft modding tutorial for version 1.19. In this tutorial we're going to be covering a highly requested feature, and that is ore generation. So ore generation has changed a lot in the recent updates, so let's just go ahead and get started with our ore generation. Before I get started with this video, I just wanted to mention that if you get stuck with anything modding related, whether it be with these tutorials or not, you can join my Discord server, which is linked in the description of this video, and there are loads of people there who will be willing to help you with your problems, and obviously loads of people asking for help as well as that. It is just a general chatting server as well, so don't feel that you need to join just for modding purposes. Anyways, let's get back onto the video. So the first thing we're going to do is come in our init package as usual, and we're going to create a configured feature init, and inside of here, as we usually do, we want our public static final deferred register, and that is of type configured. Hello? I can't spell. Configured feature, and that will take in 2 question marks inside of the angled brackets, and we're going to call that configured features, and that is equal to deferred register dot create. And inside of here, instead of putting the forged registries dot etc., we're actually going to be doing something slightly different, and we're going to put in registry. Now you need to make sure this is the correct registry, so that is registry from the Minecraft, not from java.rmi. So you need to make sure it is the correct one, and we want the configured feature registry. And then we need to put in our mod ID as usual, so tutorial mod ID, and if we just put that on a new line so that we can see everything a little bit better, then we're going to need to go ahead and create a replacement map. So essentially what this is, it is a kind of like a map. It's not actually a map, but we'll stick with it being called a map for now. It is a map of the block you want to replace to what you want to replace it with. For example, stone to your ore, or deep slate to your deep slate ore. So let's go ahead and create these. So this will be a private static final supplier, and that will be of type list, which will then be of type ore configuration dot target block state, and then we're just going to call this example underscore overworld underscore replacement. Since we'll start with the overworld, then we'll do the nether and then the end, and that will equal to suppliers dot memoize, and that will take in a supplier of a list.of, and inside of here we can supply it with what we want to replace. So to do that, we do ore configuration dot target, and that gives us our ore configuration dot target block state, and inside of this target we're going to give it ore features dot stone ore replaceables, and then we're going to give it the block that we want to replace it with, which in our case is going to be from our block init. So block init dot example underscore overworld underscore ore, and then you do your dot get and your default block state afterwards, and no semicolon because we have another one to do, and wait, have I put that comma in the right place? No. So let's just move these down a bit, separate everything out. And then if you want your block to generate below Y0, you'll need to give it a deep slate variant as well. So we can do OR configuration.target, and this time we're going to use OR features.deepslate or replaceables, and then give it your block again. So this time we're going to give it the deep slate overworld or .get.default block state. Fantastic. So let's just go back through this again. First of all, we're creating a supplier here, and then we're providing that supplier with a list. Inside of this list, we're providing a bunch of OR configuration targets, which will specify that we want to replace anything in this stone or replaceables with our OR if it matches. So if you do look at stone or replaceables, come into here, it's just a tag match. So essentially it looks in the tag for stone or replaceables, which is just a vanilla tag. If you go into your assets and if you go into your data, you will find that in there. Essentially it's just stone, granite and andesite, I believe. Shouldn't be anything else. And for deep slate, that will just be deep slate. So then you just need to go ahead and do the same for the nether and the end. Obviously only if you have nether and end ores, or if you only have nether or end ores, then you don't need to do the overworld one. But I'm going to be demonstrating all three in this video, so don't worry about it if you are doing one and worrying about whether I will do that or not. So we'll do the nether next. So we'll say once again a supplier of a list of OR configuration dot target block state example underscore nether underscore replaceables replacement, isn't it? Yes. And that's equal to suppliers dot memorize, then a supplier of a list dot of, and plonk that down here. There we go. This time we're only going to want one OR configuration because obviously there's no deep slate equivalent in the nether, and that will just be OR features, my bad, dot, and you actually have two options here. So you have nether or replaceables, which will also work for basalt, I believe, or there is just netherrack. So we'll just use netherrack because that's how our texture is made to be. And then we just need to give it our nether or .get.default block state. Fantastic. So that's our nether one. Then we just need to do the same for the end. This will be a little bit different, but you will see that in a second. So we need to give it OR configuration.target block state example end underscore replacement is equal suppliers dot memorize, and a supplier new line, we'll go list dot of new line, and in here we'll do OR configuration dot target, and this time we're going to need to give a new block match test, and this will take in blocks.endstone, and then just need to give it our OR again. So block init dot end OR dot get dot default block state. Fantastic. So what this block match test here is that it just checks for an endstone block instead of checking for these. And the reason we have to do this instead is because vanilla doesn't have an end variant of these netherrack or stone ore things, because they don't have any ores in the end, so they haven't created one, which is fair enough. It's fine, we can just create it like that, no biggie. After that we need to actually create our configured features, so let's just go ahead and do those. Public static final registry object of type configured feature we'll give it the 2 question marks in the angled brackets, and we'll call this example overworld or is equal to configured features dot register. We'll give it our name as usual. This must be lowercase and no spaces, no special symbols, etc. Then a supplier of a new configured feature, and in here we need to give it feature.or. That's the feature we're going to configure, and then we need to give it our configuration, which is just a new or configuration. And then we just need to give it our placement. So this is the overworld, so we'll do example overworld replacement, and we just need to do .get to get it from that supplier. And then finally we just need to give it essentially the size that it will be, so the max vein size of the ore. I'm just going to give it 11 for the overworld. And let's just move this around a little bit, so we'll put this supplier on a new line. There we go. Now I'm just going to copy paste this for the Nether and the end, and we'll just go through and replace these. So Nether and Nether and Nether, and then finally the end and end and end. And I'm also just going to replace these numbers as well. So for example, for the end I'll give it 15, and I'll say for the Nether it's 7, just to give it some variation. Then we need to just go into our main class as you usually do and say configured feature init dot configured features dot register bus. Fantastic. So next we need to create a placed feature, and placed features will define essentially how it should be placed. So we'll create a placed feature init, and as usual you're going to need your deferred register of placed feature, and that would just be placed features is equal to deferred register dot create, and once again we're going to give it a registry, and this is of registry dot placed feature registry, and then our mod ID as usual, and we just need to import placed feature. And here we're going to want to copy in 2 methods. You can find these in the description, and we just need to import all of these. So once again, I think there is a way to automatically import all of these, but I don't unfortunately know, because I'm not still too familiar with IntelliJ. I wish I was, but not sure. So then we just need to create our 3 registry objects for the overworld, end and Nether. So let's go public static final registry object. This will be of type placed feature, and I'm going to call this example overworld underscore or is equal placed features dot register. We like to give it the exact same name as what we called our configured feature, so I'm going to do that, and then it will just be a supplier of a new placed feature. Inside of here we're first going to give it our configured feature, so configured feature init dot example overworld or dot get holder dot get. So it's actually slightly different. We want to get the holder and then we want to get it. And then we're just going to provide our common ore placement, and then this is the count per chunk. So that's basically the rarity that it will be. I'm going to say there's about 7 per chunk, and then we need to give it a height range placement. Now there are 3 options here. There is triangle, uniform, and of. Triangle means that it will be essentially there'll be more the lower it goes, uniform means that it will just be a uniform amount no matter the height, and of allows you to provide a custom height provider. But we'll be using triangle for the overworld, I think. You can use whichever one you want, it's completely up to you. I'm just going to use triangle. And then we need to provide it a vertical anchor. So the first vertical anchor is the bottom anchor. So that's basically the lowest point that your ore can generate. You have, once again, a few options here. So you have bottom, which refers to the bottom of the world. You have top, which refers to the top of the world. You have above bottom, which allows you to say, okay, this should spawn 10 blocks above the bottom of the world, for example. You have below top, which is the same, except it will be 10 blocks below the top of the world. And then you have absolute values. So you only want it to spawn between 64 and 32, no matter the height of the world, for example. I'm just going to give the first vertical anchor the bottom, since I think that's the simplest, and then I'll just give it an absolute value for the top anchor. So I'll say an absolute of 20, and in fact I'll give it 40 to make it a little bit easier for us to find it. And we're basically just going to want to copy paste that for the Nether and the end. So let's just come into here, change this to Nether, change this to Nether, and I'll leave the count per chunk the exact same. For the Nether, I'll give it a uniform, since height in the Nether isn't really a thing. And I'll just say bottom to top, so it can spawn anywhere. And then finally, the end. As well, I just realised I accidentally gave this one the overworld. This needs to be Nether. Just make sure that you do change everything that needs to be changed. And end here as well. And end here as well. And in the placement, I'll give this bottom, and I'll say maybe like below top, because we haven't used that one yet. I'll just say like 100. That should be like the bottom of the end island, maybe. So then that is our placed feature in it. So we can go back in our main class and just do placed feature in it, dot placed features, dot register bus. Beyond that, obviously what you do need to do is create your blocks, but I'm sure you've already done that because we have a block tutorial ages ago. So that's actually all of the code. We can now come into our data, and we need to now specify how we want it to spawn, so when we want it to generate, and also what biomes, for example. So let's come into our data package, into tutorial mod, and we're going to create a new directory, and that will be forge, and then we're going to create a directory inside of there called biome_modifier. And then inside of here, we're going to want to create a new JSON file, and this is going to be called add_, and then it's just the name of your placed feature. So the name of ours was example _overworld_ore.json. We'll start with the overworld and we'll go from there. So we first have the basically the type that we want it to generate at. So we're going to give it type, and we want it to generate during the add features. So that's basically how we want it to modify the biome, right? So this is the way we're going to modify it. We want to add a feature. You can also remove and edit, but we'll keep it with add, just keep everything a little bit simpler. Then we need to provide the biomes that we want to use, and for this we're going to use a tag that Minecraft has called is_overworld, and that means it can spawn only in overworld biomes, and you can create your own tag for this if you wish. I have a tutorial on tags already, so you can go and check that out. Then we have the features, and these are just the features that we want to modify this biome with. So I'm going to be using tutorial mod, which is my mod ID of course, example underscore overworld underscore or. And then finally we have the step, which is the generation step that we want it to happen at. And we want this to happen during underground ores because that's what our ores are. There are other generation steps, of course. There are, I think, a vegetable decoration. That's all I can remember right now. But if you look in generation step class and come down into decoration, here you go. You can see all of the different generation steps that there are. Now we can just go ahead and just copy this and paste for the Nether and the end. So let's just quickly do that. I don't want to make this tutorial too long, as I know we're already hitting fairly long steps. So that's the Nether done. Literally just copy pasting and changing the dimension. So end, and we'll say is end and example end or. Fantastic. So we can now go ahead and we can run the game. So I actually have to run in terminal because I've broken something recently. So we gradually run client, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the game. Okay, here we are in the game. Now when you press single player and you go to create a new world, it should say validating selected data packs. If it says that, you know you're on the right lines and things are going well so far. So I'm just going to obviously do the basic stuff, change to creative. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Create new world. And if you get this screen warning, these settings are using experimental features, and these blah 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 blah, you just want to hit yes, and that means things are likely to work. Things are getting more and more likely the more we go along, and hopefully we should get into the world, and our ore should be fairly easy to find. So just gotta wait for the world to generate. This always takes a whole minute. There's not much we can do about that, unfortunately. And here we go, it is done. So just join the world as well. And oh, it's frozen. Oh yes, there we go. Okay, so let's go into spectator mode and let's just go down. Now I remember we did, I think, 50 above the bottom of the world, so we should start seeing it fairly quickly. Just gonna fly around a little bit and see if we can spot it anywhere. It's obviously still going to be more common the lower down we go, since that is how we defined it to be. And just gonna have to search around a little bit maybe. It does seem a little more uncommon than I thought it would be, unless it's not working, of course. Is that ours? Yes, there it is. Okay, so we have found it. I know it's obviously not a great texture, but you know, that's just how it is. You have to bear with me there. But yeah, that is our ore in the overworld. So now let's go ahead and test the Nether. So let's set block, portal. We'll do Nether portal. And with some flying around, hopefully this should be a little easier to find since we set it to uniform. And there we go, this is our Nether ore. Once again, not great, but it is what it is. And then finally, let's go ahead and test the end. So end portal, hop into here, and this should only be below the island since we set it to be 100 below the top. And there we go, here is our end ore. Fantastic. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys did find it useful. If you did, please do be sure to go ahead and smash your face into that like button and subscribe. If you really enjoyed, please do be sure to share it around, and remember, my Discord server is open if you ever get stuck. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Goodbye.